So when I say they're from shaitan, I don't just mean bid'ah shaitan or shirk is from shaitan. I don't mean that. I mean literally, what was the issue? What was the beef between Iblis and mankind as he looked upon our empty shell, our empty vessel, and he said, this guy is hollow. This is nothing. He knocked us. He looked at us. He analyzed us and felt that we were, or mankind, Adam was worthless. And and verbalized that by saying, I am better than him. I am fire and he is from clay. So not Adam, Iblis essentially sees mankind as worthless. And big shout out to a YouTube channel called Qawamun. He highlighted many of these issues I want to mention to you right now. So I definitely advise you to check out his channel. Every video he has, every single video has, very useful, very beneficial. I benefited a lot from that. And hopefully I'll put the link in my video in the description below, so check that one out. So anyway, the issue of Iblis seeing mankind as worthless and imparting that idea onto mankind himself through wiswas, through um, his whispers to mankind. And these ideas are inherent to the root of materialism or this MGTOW, even probably even feminism as ideology. So first thing is that Iblis sees us fundamentally as worthless beings in of ourselves, not worthy of anything. Well, if you look at that Islamically speaking, that doesn't make sense because Allah ordered the angels and Iblis himself to prostrate to Adam, and Adam hadn't achieved anything. The prostration was in honor to Adam for what Adam was and what Adam is and what we are, what we can be. Also, another important part that I say this ideology is from Shaitan specifically, not just generically, but specifically, is because it what is Shaitan? What is his ultimate goal? What is the not ultimate goal? Because ultimate goal is shirk. But what is one of the biggest achievements in the eyes of Shaitan? And that it's a split between a husband and wife, between man and woman, to put a wedge between the family unit. This is the ultimate goal. And I'm going to explain why I believe that red pill or MGTOW does, at some way, at some level, lead to that. I don't say lead to that on its own. I would say red pill, MGTOW, and also feminism specifically on both ends of the spectrum are causing this, or I would say are part and parcel in putting that rift between man and woman, between what husband and wife, and so on and so forth. So it's not just to say I'm blaming red pill; it's also a feminism. As long as one understands what feminism actually is and how it is actually wrong, not just say that every woman who behaves, obnoxiously as a feminist. Not necessarily, she might just be obnoxious. But I'm saying that feminism, for what it actually is, in opposition to Islam, is on one end of the spectrum, and this one is on the other end of the spectrum, as I believe. Now, before I continue, this is not to say that there is not some truth within those who wave the flag or carry the banner of red pill. There's truth in Christianity, obviously. No one's denying there's some truth in it. But what I've come to the conclusion is that any truth that it does have would already be inside Islam, and there's no need for anything extra. There's no need to consume their content or their ways or their narrative, because at some level, some of what they say may seep into your heart. Anyway, so let's deal with these issues one by one. Hypergamous. Women are hypergamous in nature. So let's have a look at that. What does hypergamous mean? It means that a woman essentially wants a man who can provide for her. Sorry, start again. Not provide for her. A woman wants the best. If given a choice, she would go for the man who is richer, taller, stronger, more intelligent, blah, blah, blah. This is what a woman has. And MGTOW take it to the next level and say because obviously they're very bitter. And I'm not saying very bitter, I don't mean that to put them down. I'm saying MGTOW is a reaction to, I would say, how some men have felt, I guess, abused or madhulum. That's the only way I can explain it. Oppressed. So they lash out and go the other direction. That's why they go their own way. That's what they actually are saying. So what does that mean? What does hypergamy mean lead to? It means that if you're not too strong, you ain't got that much money, you're not that good looking in your view, then every woman's just gonna ignore over you and go to the Giga Chad, the guy who, the bad boy who's got all the money and that kind of stuff. And that obviously makes you internally very, or it could, not does it could make you very bitter if you don't have what you think they want you to have. So, and also have this anyway. So that's basically where possible, if and wherever possible, women will go for the best. Okay. And they would even consider leaving a good relationship to get that which is better. This is key to understand this point, that a woman would readily leave a relationship with a man to get that which is better. Because why? She's hypergamous. She always seeks out the best. Okay. This can breed an inherent contempt towards women, because at the end of the day, if she's always seeking out the best, and if she sees that you're not the best, she will and possibly will leave you for someone else. So if you're a man and you believe this about women, you may feel a bit apprehensive, a bit nervous about the woman who is now your wife, because she may want to leave you. Maybe she's upset with the way you're behaving, the way you're treating her. She's talking about divorce, as women tend to do when they get upset. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, wait, maybe she wants someone else. Maybe she's seen someone else, because she's hypergamous. So you can see here the seeds already sown for that mistrust, distrust of women, and more importantly, distrust of your own wife. That's why I say it can sow the seeds of divorce, discontentment between your wife. And they even have this. They even have a phrase. They even have a term in Magtel, maybe even Redpaw, I don't know, called monkey branching. Where a woman will monkey branch, as monkeys just swing. They go from one branch and to another branch and another branch, and they swing from man to man. So I have many ideas, many phrases that they use to indicate that a woman would jump from man to man to man to man to man. It's always seeking out the best. Why? Because she's hypergamous. This is her nature. And this is the problem. Saying this is her nature, it's like, it reminds me of that story actually of the fox and the scorpion. The fox and the scorpion. So there's a story of the scorpion the fox wants to cross the river, and the scorpion also wanted to cross the river. So the scorpion said to the fox, could you please carry me on your back so I can get to the other side of the river? And the fox said, but why would I do that for? As soon as you go on my back, you're going to sting me and kill me. I'm not an idiot. So then the scorpion says, yeah, but why would I do that for? If I kill you, then we both die. That's not nonsensical. So then the fox says, okay, that makes sense. So he says, hop on board, hop on board. So the scorpion gets on his back. They're crossing the river, and halfway across the river, the fox feels a sting in the back of his neck, and he realizes the scorpion stung the fox. So the fox turns to the scorpion and says, what the heck are you doing? Now we're both gonna die. Why'd you do that for? And the fox said, it's in my nature. So if you believe that a woman is hypergamous, that means that she will hurt you and harm you and not even realize, because it's in her nature. She can't avoid it. She can't work against it. It is who she is. She is fundamentally gonna dump you and ditch you for the next guy comes on the road who offers her more money or a better way, better life. That essentially is where the idea can and does lead to. It can and does lead to that. Not to mention that this idea actually isn't true. Okay, let me explain. Why are women not actually hypergamous? Well, again, very simple. When you give examples, like for example, the classic one, there's another brother, mashallah, he's done a lot of effort to try and help, as he feels, the reduction of divorce and help brothers get married. But yeah, unfortunately, he pushes the idea of red pill, or I would say not pushes. He reads or consumes their content and takes what he feels is beneficial and uses that to help Muslims, because he feels it's just like anything, any knowledge, you can take the good and leave the bad. So this is something. So, brother, it's brought the channel Mahdi Tijani. So again, I used to consume his content as well until I realized that a lot of what is pushing out is incorrect. So let me explain. So the idea is, it's not true. So the scenario, if you go look at the channel video, there has lots of examples. It'll say, okay, look, all um, that's what's the word? All things equal. That's the phrase. All things equal. You have a man here, he's religious, and a man here, he's religious. Tall, tall, handsome, handsome. Everything is equal, but one guy has more money than the other. Who would you choose? So the idea is that obviously the woman would choose the richer guy because she has a better life. One guy's poor, is going to be struggling. One guy's rich, is better life. Well, that's obvious. That's obvious. You see, she's hypergamous. She always wants the bigger, better. Blah blah blah. Why is this false? Because that's not actually how human beings function and work. And if you oversimplify planet Earth or oversimplify human nature to just this decision here, which would you choose, then you actually do get to say, okay, that makes sense. I see how women are hypergamous. But if you actually just scratch the surface a little bit, you actually find not really. That's not actually true. Many women actually marry men who are not well off and they love them dearly. And many women actually turn down men who are well off for a man who is more religious, or a man who makes them laugh, or a man who fall in love with. If I was to summarize woman's nature, and I'm not hopefully not speaking on woman's behalf, but I'm sure most women would agree. All a woman wants is someone she could love, and someone who can love her. And it sounds a romanticized, simplified version, but if you think about it, that is literally all it is. I mean, we see all the time how rich men get divorced by their wives, and the poor men who live happily ever after till they get old and die. It happens all the time. It's actually not very common for a woman just to leave her loving husband who she loves very deeply just for some guy's wallet. Actually, a larger factor for a woman's decision is how she feels emotionally about the individual. Hence why when we used to do our matrimonial services, I used to encourage people just to talk to each other before even looking at anything else. Because the reality is, you will drop all your conditions if you just like the person. And you only know if you like the person if you speak to them. See, are they on your level? Do they laugh at the same things you laugh at? Do they have the same interests you have? Can you get along? Yes, money is important. Yes, the religious adherence is important. There's a lot of things that are important, but a lot of these things are superficial things that will pass over time. That's the reality. Um, and this is where, if you think about this deeply, there is no hypergamy. Not really. All people want, man and woman, is just someone to love and someone to love them. And once they find that, they'll stick with them. They'll be happy with them. So, in fact, a woman actually isn't very hypergamous at all. She just wants someone to love her. Now, there is some truth to this idea, though, that women are hypergamous. In a world of consumerization or consumerism, hyper consumerism, where everything's about money and mal and the latest car and the latest phone and fashion and social media and blah blah blah, a person can become that way. A person can become, I want the Brad Pitt, I want this whoever actors that are and rich and famous, and you have this rich guy with two, three, four women on his shoulder. You can get that, but is that the nature of a woman, or is that actually the nature of these women? And this is where one brother, same thing, the same channel, Qawamun, he mentioned that when I first watched his videos, he said, this is their problem, not our problem. In my head, I was like, what do you mean? This is how women are. But if you actually analyze it, it actually isn't something that all women are. And there's one video I stumbled across, I literally stumbled across it. It was a black guy, not Muslim. He was comparing the desires women have for men from Western women to Eastern women. He chose Philippines. So interviewed a selection of women. What do you want? The Western women mentioned tall, well off, blah blah, all these superficial things. Whereas the Filipino women said, I just want someone I can love." As in, it was a massive contrast between the two types of women and what they actually wanted from my marriage and what from my husband. And that video actually opened up for me the idea that actually maybe a large part of what a woman wants in a husband is defined by her society, her upbringing, her belief system, and her religion, even. Hence why a Muslim woman who adheres to Islam and tries her best to purify her behavior and character by Islam is not the same as a non Muslim woman who doesn't do that. Because a woman's decisions, just like a man's decisions, are shaped by their personality and their character. So hypergamy isn't actually true. And if you just analyze it just anecdotally from your own experiences, you realize that it actually isn't true. And if it were true, you find that only rich people or affluent people would have relationships, whereas you don't find that actually in reality. What you actually do find in practice is that people marry within their locality. Whoever's available around them, they kick up, they can get along, and they get married. If they're from the poor area, they marry those in that area. If from the rich area, those in that clique. People marry along their own social norms and levels, and they very rarely differ in that regards. That's how it is. People seek to marry those who they get along with, some kind of compatibility. Yeah. Also, what you find is that a man will also probably exhibit a quote unquote hypergamous behavior, as in men would like to marry the most beautiful, the most attractive, everyone wants the most of everything. So it's not a female thing, it's just a human thing. But in reality is when it comes down to it, a lot of what we want in our heads isn't actually what we get or what we want in reality. Anyway, I don't want to go on too much about that one. I just want to highlight that one point about hypergamy.